Thanks. I'm not used to a microphone, so let me know if, all right? So I've got 20 minutes here, so we're going to burn through some of this pretty quickly, and I'll attempt to ask questions. If you have them, if you're not following me, raise your hand. We're going to very soil basics in terms of the recent speaker, but more on a practical level, and that is if we're talking about growing trees in Northwest Washington, winter wet is what kills trees up here and can compromise your success. So making sure it's a good time of year, if you're thinking about putting trees in, or if you have trees in that aren't working real well, you might go dig a hole 2 feet deep in your yard and see how long it takes for the water to drain after a rain event. That's probably the biggest thing that you can do there. When it comes to pruning in the winter on trees, and that's mostly what I'm going to talk about today, is a few keys that we go by is if you're pruning apples and pears, then you can prune them pretty much any time, rain, snow, doesn't matter. They're very hardy. They don't have a lot of diseases that will come into them on the cuts, on the pruning cuts. Keep in mind, pruning cuts are just like a cut in your arm. It exposes the inner part of the tree to lots of disease and virus potentially. And when we go to prune stone fruits, so that's, I'll say specifically cherries, apricots, and peaches. And cherries, apricots, peaches, we do not prune them till after fruit set. So we prune them when they are leafed out, because they all are susceptible to a number of cankers, bacterial canker being one that can kill all of those in a blink of the eye. And the life cycle of that particular disease is in the early spring. So we wait till after fruit set. The other biggest challenge with stone fruits is brown rot, and that's where the blossoms come out and they're beautiful, and we get a little rain or a little frost, and then everything wilts all on the same day or two. And we're finding if we don't touch that tree until after fruit set, we've eliminated the brown rot problem. So that's about the easiest thing I've found any kind of type of crop management. So when it comes to apples and pears, you can prune them anytime you want. The stone fruits are also a lot more susceptible to winter temperature changes, like 13 degrees the other night at the farm. If you've gone out and pruned, when you've gone and pruned particularly stone fruits, but also apples and pears, every place you've made a cut, that particular branch has lost a certain amount of its winter hardiness. And with stone fruits, the buds soften up a little bit, but they're a little more susceptible to disease. And so with stone fruits, if we pruned them just before that cold snap, we probably would have lost a lot of the buds. But right now, they all look fine. So delay that pruning on those. On apples and pears, we're in the middle of pruning that stuff now. I thought one of the things that I've tried to do more is teach people anatomy of plants, right? You get out there to prune a tree, not everything's equal. There's very specialized buds and otherwise. So this is difficult to do from up here in this type of setting, but you all know what this piece here is. It's a piece of last year's wood. It's what grew last year. And it's smooth buds. These are called simple buds. And one of the biggest principles in pruning, where's Vanna? I need you.
I thought you'd never ask. Like, dream come true.
You just hold that right. So you have this new wood that's shinier, and these buds are fairly tight to the wood. Those are called simple buds. This is 1 year wood on an apple. Now, how many of you go through, and when you prune, you go through and tip all this new year wood? Anybody? That's the absolute wrong thing to do. Some of you do that. So if you prune this wood, what you get, as you know, you get more new wood, right? You prune it, and then 2 or 3 branches push. And what happens to these buds down here? You might get one flower bud, but they often just kind of go dormant. But and it's one of the few times you get a free one. If you leave that wood alone and let it grow, this is what happens here. Does anybody know what these are called? Those are called flower buds that make apples. So with apples and pears, don't cut cut into that 1-year wood, let it grow a second year. And then somebody says, but that's way out into the row, I can't get my lawnmower. You can wait 1 year, it will grow even farther and get way wacky out there. Your neighbors will think you're crazy. But then you can cut it back into the 2-year wood and you have all your flower buds. So you just let it go that extra year. This kind of wood is what we call juvenile wood. It's just like teenagers, you never know. You push it back harder. This is mature wood, it's very responsive. If you prune it, it will stay there in a nice packet. So that is the key on apples and pears on this. Is the most important thing is don't prune this 1-year wood. You certainly have to, at one point that has to happen, but cut it back into the 2-year wood, or you can cut it right back to the growth ring right here. So let's look at that same thing in a pear, because it looks like, yeah, you can. So this is pear. You can see here, pears morphologically are a little different. You can see here, a little more knobby. This is the original, it grew from here all the way out last year. You even get a few flowers, which can happen on 1-year wood on pears and apples. They are not very good apples, so or pears, we take those off. We don't really try and keep those going. And you can see these little knobby buds here. These are flower bud wannabes. And again, if you leave it, it will produce the good part of this next year. Every one of these buds will be a pear, probably up to about here, up to flowers. So same thing, don't cut into that 1-year wood. Now pears are a little different. You can see down here, they will in the 2nd year, and apples will do this too. That 2-year wood all of a sudden starts to branch and you get some fingers that go out both ways. When we go to prune this type of material, or turn it just like that, we go through and cut off everything on the bottom, and we cut everything on the top and make sure the tip of the branch is the highest part of that branch. If you pull that branch down like this, it's going to push right at the back of the curve. And that's okay in some situations, because as your trees grow, this is all about renewal. Pruning isn't like cutting it off. It's about when a branch has gotten too big and too old, so you're going to cut it back in and start a new one. And it's a multi-year process, but I'm not going to try and fit all that into 20 minutes. But these little short branches are going to be the workhorse of your fruit. So don't cut all that little stuff off. And then too many people come in and say, I've been pruning 20 years, my trees look pretty beautiful, but I never get any flowers. Well, what do? I come and cut all that little stuff off and leave the big stuff. So that's not where you want to go with it. Okay. That's about all we can talk about, apples and pears. Sorry about that. So we grow 2 different kinds of plums, and believe it or not, there used to be commercial plum orchards and apple orchards in Whatcom County. I think close to around 5,000 acres of tree fruits were grown in this county in 1900. So this is a Japanese plum. They're a little earlier. They're like the juicy ones you buy in the store, not like the Italian prunes that many of us have in our backyard. So these push a little earlier. So you can see all these buds here are showing a little life to them. They're swollen up. The little coverings over the buds have split, and you can see that green tissue. It remains to be seen how many of these flower buds actually will be viable when we get to full bloom, because we've been here pretty cold this week than they were out. Although the plums they're pretty tough, and we'll see. If you have this kind of situation, you're wondering how to tell, take a razor blade or a sharp knife on a cutting board and take these flowers and cut right through the very bottom part right above the stem and the bottom part of the round little flower bud there. If it's brown, it's dead. If it's green, it's probably fine. And you'll find a big difference between these down here versus these up here. And that's just, these up here are going to be farther along, that's equal predominance. The higher the branch, the faster everything's growing. So with plums, particularly this type of plum, every bud, every year, unless the crop the year before has been too big of a crop, every bud will produce a flower or 5. So you can come in on this stuff and really prune where you want to shape your tree and open it up, because everything's going to turn into a flower. The thing to remember on plums, they are very vigorous. The rootstocks are not semi-dwarf. plum rootstock is not the same thing as a semi-dwarf apple. Where an apple, it might be 50-60% of standard. On a plum, it's going to be 70 or 80%. So a semi-dwarf plum might be 15 feet tall and 15 feet wide. So keep that in mind. If you cut into this wood, you start getting really big pushback shoots, then you cut it too hard. And so you have to, if we don't get these right, they're pretty leggy and they start to fall over just because they're not thick enough. So you can start by pruning a little light on some and you'll get a feel of a tree. And the good thing is you always have a scorecard at the end of the year. If you prune that tree and you go out there and you have this 18 inches to 2 feet of shoot growth, you've done it just right, as long as there's plenty of light in it. If you're getting big shoots this thick, going 5-6 feet, well, tone down the thinning a little bit. So these little fruits in here, what I usually do is I leave all these short little branches. Anything that are shorter than my hand pruners, unless it's going straight up or straight down, leave them. They're just going to make you plums. And the closer you can leave those plums into the main trunk, the less you're going to have to deal with this branch bending all over. I'm going to talk about them next. Questions so far? I planted that guy in the audience. The question was, do we have this summarized someplace? We have a new website coming out next week. Oh, I've heard that for a month now, but I think actually next week. And it's going to take us a while to populate it. We'll have all our PDFs, all of our handouts at the nursery will be in there, and there's a whole new crop development, crop trial piece that will be in there. And we have a number of videos we've been doing over the years. They will all be accessible there, and we will have pretty extensive PowerPoints that I've done that we've been putting together for this kind of stuff, and that stuff we'll add to it every year. So we plan to try and build a database for homeowners and small farmers wanting to grow tree fruits, that they can go to that, and it will be commercial articles and creative things to do, and I think it'd be pretty good. So it's plumfarmcenter.org is the address, and if you just go to Cloud Mountain, and the old one it changes some night at midnight is how they do it. The next morning, if you go to the site like you have been, if you've been there, it'll just go to the new site. So this is Italian prune, not too much different. So these buds, again, they're pointy. Don't let that confuse you. They'll look different than the sample that's being passed around. The way you can tell on plums what bud is a fruit at this stage is when they start to push. The first ones to push, and that goes for apples and pears, cherries, any of that. The flower buds start to push and green up sooner than the leaves come out. You know, the leaves come out after the flowers. So you can look at it, and when you're pruning, like with that Japanese plum going around, you go, there's a lot of buds here. I better make sure that these branches can hold that much fruit, because thinning fruit, as you probably know if you've tried it, takes longer time than anything. So I always try and evaluate what's going on, and like I said, we're not going to prune these for a good month. But on the stone fruits, you might get one simple bud, and sometimes, like you can see out there, there's a few buds pushing, and it's one simple bud, but it's a flower. Well, these will start to develop multiple clusters, like a fruit spur on an apple or pear. And you can see here, some of these clusters have 3 or 4 or 5 buds, and so they'll make that many flowers. And so when you start leaving this little stuff for a couple of years, you're going to get a lot of fruit. I mean, I would say with what's here, we probably have 3 pounds of fruit just in that little area, if we thin it. So it gets to be a lot. We have a methylene plum. We predict just one tree. It's mature, 30 years old, and we pick close to 1,000 pounds every year. So plant 10 trees from us, and they'll do really well. But yeah, be mindful of how much fruit you really want. It can be a headache. I can't stress enough on these. We worked for 15 15 years to trying to figure out how to solve the brown rot problem in our stone fruits. And we have literally eliminated it by just delaying pruning. You delay your pruning on all this, you can prune them just like in the winter. Dormant pruning, in my mind, can go right up to the 1st of June. So if the leaves are out, it's better to prune. These fruits were all bred, not with the assumption, but with the expectation that they're going to be pruned every year. The quickest way to have no success is to just quit pruning. You'll get some fruit quality, won't be as good. One of the other intrinsic values of pruning is it's not going to make the tree smaller. By the end of the next year, it's going to grow just back just as much. But what will happen is that pruning will keep the tree open and you'll have less humidity, more sunlight, things will be healthier, you'll have less disease, less insects in that area, and you can see what's really going on. Okay, we got one more here. I can help this one. So this is a sweet cherry, and they're a little different beast. These are single buds here, but cherries are interesting where this new wood that grows like this from about here up, these buds are leaf buds. But at the very bottom you can see all these little buds, and usually 2 or 3 buds above that. They don't look any different than the others, but those will make cherries. Now they're unique because on this 1-year wood with cherries, those will throw a flower and they won't throw a leaf. And so the next year they'll just be a stub that isn't viable. So if you cut these branches too far back, you get those cherries, but you'll end up with these long stubs. So the trick with that is you leave a couple other buds farther out, you don't prune them in quite so far, and then you get a renewal branch. So that's the 1-year wood. The other way to manage your crop is that, to think about it, is all these buds next year will be flower buds, so you get an enormous amount of cherries. So if you come in here from these basal buds and count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We're going to say 16 buds from here up. If you came in and pruned the top 25% off, that would drop to right here. That would take off 7. So that would take off 1/3 of the buds. And that's how you manage your fruit load for the next year. You prune into that 1-year wood, and if that's still too much, then take a little less, or take a little more wood. And the more wood you take off, the less cherries you will get. And there's a fine line between small cherries that aren't very sweet and big cherries that are really delicious. So that's the strategy I would take there. We do, as Monica said, close to 50 workshops every year. I know our catalogs over at our table are over, but every Saturday between now and May, we've got a lot of workshops going on. Feel free to look at the website and come on out and see us if you'd like home.